Hello, dear listener, and welcome back to the Lazy Lion Stories, where the world grows still, where the day exhales, and where dreams begin to rise, soft as mist above the sea. Tonight, I invite you to drift back in time, far beyond memory, to an age before cities, before temples, before the first fires burned on the mountaintops, an age of gods and beginnings. But first, before the story unfolds, let's take a moment to arrive. Close your eyes if you haven't already. Let the air around you settle. You've done enough for today. You've moved, thought, spoken, cared. Now it's time to rest. Take a slow, deep breath in. Hold it softly at the top and let it go like a sigh. Again, inhale gently and exhale even slower. Notice how your body begins to melt a little, your shoulders sinking, your jaw loosening, your hands falling softly where they are. The bed beneath you holds you. The air wraps you in warmth. You are safe. You are home. And now we begin. Long, long ago, before the world as we know it had shape or form, there was only sky and sea and endless possibility. The heavens arched high and blue above. The sea shimmered below, and the land lay waiting, quiet and untouched. There were no voices, no footsteps, only the sighing of the waves. The sea breathed softly, rising and falling like a giant asleep, and the wind, curious and gentle, brushed the surface with its fingers, stirring the foam into bright white ribbons. And it was from that foam, pure, shimmering, eternal, that something miraculous began to form. At first, it was only light, a glimmer like the spark of dawn. Then the shimmer grew, shaping itself into grace, into beauty, into being. From the sea rose a figure, calm, radiant, untouched by sorrow or time. Her skin shone like sunlight through pearl, her hair, golden as the horizon, floated around her like waves of light. And when she opened her eyes, the world itself seemed to breathe for the first time. Aphrodite had been born, the goddess of love, of harmony, of all things beautiful. The waves lifted her, carrying her gently toward the waiting land. Foam kissed her feet, sea breeze wrapped around her like silk. And as she moved, the world began to awaken. Seabirds circled overhead, their wings flashing silver. Dolphins leapt moved in slow arcs, their songs soft and curious. Even the smallest fish seemed to pause, gliding in reverence beneath her shadow. The sea itself began to sing, a melody of rolling waves and whispered tides, a song without beginning or end. The closer she came to shore, the more the world bloomed to meet her. Where her gaze touched, flowers stirred from the earth. Where her breath lingered, scents of jasmine and myrtle filled the air. The island of Cyprus lay before her, its sands white and shining, its hills wrapped in green silence. When she stepped upon the earth for the first time, the ground shimmered beneath her, grass unfurled, dew sparkling like tiny stars. Roses opened, blushing in her presence. The earth knew her name. From the hidden groves and clear streams nearby, they came, the nymphs of the land and sea. They saw her standing there, radiant and serene, and at once they knew she was divine. They gathered around her, singing softly, voices like bells beneath the wind. They clothed her in robes woven from dawn's first light and crowned her with flowers that never fade. "Welcome, Aphrodite," they whispered. "You are the harmony that mends the world. You are love made flesh." Aphrodite smiled, a smile that softened the very air. It was a smile that made the sea calmer, that made hearts gentler, that made even the sun pause to watch. Far above on Mount Olympus, the gods saw her rise. Zeus, king of the sky, felt his storm grow still. Apollo's lyre went quiet, strings trembling with awe. Even Athena, wise and steady, bowed her head in wonder. They saw not only her beauty, but the peace that followed wherever she walked. Aphrodite was not chaos nor fire. She was the stillness after, the hush that makes space for joy. Zeus sent Hermes, swift of foot, to invite her to the mountain of the gods. And when she arrived, the clouds parted to let her through. A light followed her, soft gold, warm and steady. The gods gathered to greet her, each feeling their own hearts grow lighter. They gave her a throne among them, a place of honor and grace. And in that moment, Aphrodite became more than a goddess. She became a promise. That beauty in all its forms would endure. That love would always rise again, like foam from the sea. Now, dear one, let's linger a little longer in that stillness. Imagine the sea before you, endless, calm, shimmering. The foam rolls in gentle rhythms, like your breath, in and out, in and out. The sunlight warms your face. The breeze carries the scent of salt and blossoms. You hear the faint laughter of nymphs among the trees, and the lullaby of waves brushing the shore. You are part of this ancient world now, resting at the edge of the sea. The goddess smiles upon you, not from far away, but here, in the peace you feel rising from within. You are safe, you are calm, and the night unfolds softly around you. Let your thoughts drift like petals upon the tide. Let your breath flow with the rhythm of the waves. You are the foam, the sea, the stillness between. Sleep comes gently, just as Aphrodite rose gently. From calm to light, from light to love, from love to rest. And as the waves recede, a new story begins to take shape. One that whispers of love's trials and triumphs, of patience and of faith. Let us drift now toward the next tale, a story carried on the same eternal breeze. The sea has grown quiet now. Only the hush of waves remains, a whisper against the shore. And from that stillness, another story begins to stir. A story of love that was tested, of beauty that was misunderstood, and of faith that endured through shadow and light. This is the tale of Eros and Psyche. Far from the sea, beyond the green hills and marble temples, there lived a young woman whose beauty was said to rival the goddess herself. Her name was Psyche. Everywhere she went, people turned to look. They whispered her name and more, left flowers at her feet, and even prayed to her as though she were divine. The statues of Aphrodite stood quiet, unvisited. The altars once filled with roses now gathered dust. And though Psyche had never sought worship, the balance of the world began to tremble. On Mount Olympus, Aphrodite heard the murmurs. At first, she was still. Then her heart filled with sorrow and a touch of jealousy. For love, even divine, can carry both grace and ache. She called for her son, Eros, the winged god of love, beautiful, mischievous, gentle at heart. Go to this mortal, Aphrodite said softly, and make her fall in love with ruin itself. Let her heart belong to something foolish, something unworthy. Eros took his bow, but his eyes held uncertainty. He had seen the mortal girl before. Her kindness, her quiet sadness. Still, he obeyed. He flew down through the clouds, his wings whispering like silk in the air. When he found Psyche sleeping, moonlight painted her face in silver. He drew his arrow, but as he leaned close, a drop of his own nectar spilled upon her lips. In that moment, his hand trembled. The arrow slipped, and its tip grazed his own skin. Eros fell in love with her. Days later, Psyche found herself alone, banished by whispers of envy, wandering through silent meadows and forests of light. Then, one evening, a warm wind lifted around her, gentle and golden. Invisible hands guided her forward, carrying her across the valley to a hidden place. Before her stood a palace of marble and crystal, glowing softly in the starlight. Its doors opened soundlessly, its halls filled with music she could not see. "You are welcome here," a voice said, low and kind, as if spoken from the air itself. "Rest, eat, dream. You are safe." Psyche obeyed. And each night, as the world fell quiet, her unseen host would come to her. A presence tender, loving, but always veiled by darkness. He never let her see his face. Yet in his arms, she felt peace deeper than she had ever known. Her heart whispered, "This is love." But love is delicate, and whispers from the world beyond the palace began to reach her. Her sisters, envious and afraid, told her cruel tales. "They say your husband is a monster," they murmured. "They say he hides in shadow to keep you from the truth." For many nights, Psyche tried to ignore them, but the seed of doubt had been planted. And like ivy, it grew. So one night, after her lover had fallen asleep, she took a small oil lamp in her trembling hands. She held it above him, and by its glow she saw his face. Not a monster, but beauty itself. Wings soft as dawn, skin that shimmered like starlight, and lips that curved in quiet peace. She gasped, and a single drop of oil fell, landing on his shoulder. He woke, eyes full of sorrow. "Why did you doubt me?" he asked softly. "You were safe. You were loved. Now the spell is broken." And before she could answer, he vanished into the night, leaving her alone in the dark. Psyche's heart broke. But love, once awakened, does not fade so easily. She went to the temples seeking forgiveness. At last, she knelt before Aphrodite herself. "Make me worthy," Psyche whispered. "I will do anything. Let me prove my love." The goddess looked upon her, stern but not cruel, and she set before Psyche 3 impossible tasks, each a trial of devotion, patience, and grace. The first was to sort a mountain of seeds: barley, millet, lentils, and beans before dawn. Psyche trembled at the sight, but as she began to weep, tiny ants gathered from the earth, working beside her until the task was done. The second was to fetch golden wool from the fierce rams of the sun. But a gentle reed whispered, "Wait until the rams sleep in shade, and gather the tufts caught upon the thorns." Psyche listened and was unharmed. The third task was the hardest: to descend into the underworld itself and bring back a box of beauty from Persephone, queen of the dead. "Do not open it," Aphrodite warned. "Whatever happens, do not look inside." Psyche agreed, but as she climbed back toward the world above, curiosity flickered in her chest. "If I am to stand before Eros again," she thought, "I must be beautiful." So she opened the box, and darkness spilled out. A deep, heavy sleep that pulled her down into stillness and silence. But love does not forget. Eros, healed of his wound, but haunted by her memory, flew across the world until he found her lying still among the flowers. He gathered her into his arms. He brushed the sleep from her lips with a kiss, and at his touch, Psyche stirred. Her eyes opened, filled with light. Together they rose, their hearts beating as one. When they returned to Olympus, even Aphrodite's sternness melted. She saw that love had changed them both, her son gentler, Psyche stronger. So she smiled and gave her blessing. Psyche was granted immortality, and Eros and Psyche were joined forever, not in shadow, but in golden light. Now, as their story settles like starlight across the mind, imagine their wings brushing softly against the sky. Imagine the gentle pulse of hearts reunited, steady and calm. You are there, beneath the stars. You hear the faint hum of crickets, the sigh of the evening wind through olive trees. The air is warm. The earth is soft beneath you. A sense of peace lingers, deep and whole. In this world, love endures. It weathers doubt and distance and always finds its way home. Let that truth sink gently into you now. That love, even when lost, is never truly gone. It waits quietly until the heart is ready again. Your breath flows steady, your thoughts drift slow, and just as Eros carried Psyche into the light, you too are being carried into calm, into warmth, into rest. And as the stars turn overhead, another story begins to rise on the horizon. A tale not of love alone, but of change and return, and the eternal dance of seasons. Let us follow it now, into the gentle underworld of dreams. The stars are soft above you now. The world has grown hushed and still. Only the sound of the sea remains. A steady whisper, rising and falling like a heartbeat. Far away, beyond the sea and the olive groves, there is a valley wrapped in eternal spring. Grasses shimmer like silk, and wildflowers bloom in endless color. This is where our next story begins, with the daughter of the harvest goddess, Persephone. Persephone was the joy of her mother, Demeter, the goddess who made the earth fruitful. Wherever Persephone walked, new blossoms opened at her feet. The trees grew heavy with fruit, and the fields ripened golden beneath the sun. Each morning, she wandered through the meadows, collecting wild roses and narcissus, singing softly to herself. Her laughter carried on the wind, bright and clear as birdsong. But in the shadowed depths of the world below, another listened. Hades, lord of the underworld, heard her voice and felt something stir within him. Something strange and new. It was not hunger, not power, but longing. And so, one day, as Persephone reached for a pale flower at the edge of a meadow, the ground beneath her trembled. A fissure opened, dark, silent, and deep. From it emerged a chariot of black and gold, drawn by shadowed horses. Hades himself stepped forth, his eyes filled with awe. He took her hand, not in anger, but in desperate affection, and in a swirl of wind and petals, they vanished below the earth. When Demeter realized her daughter was gone, the world wept with her. Rain fell in endless sheets. Fields withered, trees shed their leaves, and the warmth of the sun faded. For the first time, the world knew winter. Demeter searched the earth for 9 days and nights, her torch burning, her tears unending. She questioned the rivers, the mountains, the stars themselves. At last, she went to Helios, the sun god whose eyes saw all things. And Helios told her what had happened, that Hades had taken Persephone into his realm to make her his queen. Demeter's grief turned the air still. She withdrew her blessings from the land. Nothing grew, nothing bloomed. Even the gods felt the weight of her sorrow. Meanwhile, in that shadowed realm, Persephone sat among the quiet fields of asphodel. The air shimmered faintly, lit by a million tiny sparks like fallen stars. Hades watched her from a distance, careful, patient, unsure. He offered her a throne beside his, crafted from silver and obsidian. He spoke to her not as a captor, but as one who wished to be understood. Here you may rule beside me, he said. Here nothing fades. Here all souls find peace. Persephone listened, and though her heart still longed for sunlight, she began to see the stillness beneath the dark. There was beauty here too. In the quiet rivers, in the glitter of crystals deep in the earth, in the calm of endless night. But she missed her mother, and she missed the warmth of the living world. One day, Hermes came to the underworld, messenger of the gods, his winged sandals whispering across the marble floor. Zeus has heard Demeter's grief, he said. The world cannot survive without her blessing. You must return Persephone to her mother. Hades bowed his head. He loved her too much to keep her by force. Yet before she left, he offered her a pomegranate, a fruit red as sunset. Take it, he said softly, so that you will not forget me. Persephone looked at the fruit, hesitated, and tasted just a few seeds. She did not yet know that to eat the food of the underworld was to bind herself to it. When Persephone rose from the earth, Demeter ran to meet her, tears shining like rain in sunlight. The world awoke with her joy. Flowers burst from the soil, the rivers sang, birds filled the sky once more. But joy was not complete, for the fates had spoken. Since Persephone had eaten of the pomegranate, she must return to Hades for part of each year. And so it was decided. Half the year she would live with her mother and the world would bloom. The other half she would reign in the underworld and the earth would rest, spring and summer, for life and light, autumn and winter, for silence and renewal. And so it has been ever since. Each spring, when the first buds appear, the world celebrates her return. And each autumn, when the leaves fall and the fields grow quiet, we know she has gone below once more, to bring comfort to the souls in shadow, to tend the garden of the dead. There is no sorrow in her leaving now, only rhythm, only peace. The earth breathes in and out, a long, slow cycle of rest and renewal. Life sleeps and then awakens. Always it returns. Now imagine the valley of spring once more. Fields of gold and green stretching to the horizon. You can feel the warmth of the sun on your skin. Hear the bees drifting from flower to flower. The breeze carrying the faintest scent of honey and grass. Then imagine the same valley in winter. The ground covered in quiet frost, air crisp and clear, the stars gleaming above like small fires. Both are beautiful, both are needed. The warmth teaches us to bloom, the cold teaches us to rest. In the story of Persephone, you find the rhythm of your own life, the moments of light, the times of stillness, and the promise that spring will always return. Let that truth fill you now as the last edges of wakefulness fade away. And now, the myths grow silent again. Aphrodite has risen from the sea. Eros and Psyche have found each other once more, and Persephone has brought light back to the world. The gods rest, the waves are calm, the stars shine quietly above. Breathe in and breathe out, slow and steady. You are safe here. You are calm. You are whole. Drift now into the quiet garden of dreams where love endures, beauty awakens, and the seasons of your heart turn gently, forever in peace. Good night from the Lazy Lion Stories. May your dreams be golden and your rest deep as the sea.